Welcome to CrossYoga. My name is Ria. I'm the founder of CrossYoga and the host of this channel. And today I will guide you through a slow flow class. I will invite you down on your mat in child's pose. If you can't do that due to knee issues, just come down on your belly. No worries. Get some distance in between your knees just because it probably feels nice. There's space for your belly and chest and everything. Forehead on the ground. And try to relax as much as possible. Hands can either be at the front or by your feet. And breathe. Try to breathe through your back. See if you can make space and breathe space into your ribs, your rib cage. And maybe you feel like turning your palms up. And today, surrender whatever you need to surrender. It can be to Christ or to whatever you believe is bigger or larger than yourself. Let go of stress or anxious thoughts, worries. Mention them shortly and surrender them to God. And when you're done, you might remind yourself that God's love is new every morning. And it's of course not just every morning, but new whenever we come to Him. He will erase the things that hinder us from loving ourselves and loving God and loving other people. And He'll help us to a new start, a fresh start. So breathing, a fresh start. And maybe with your exhale, say thank you. Take your hands on your mat. Get ready. You're gonna go into all fours. So maybe you want to take your knees a little bit closer. And maybe you want to wrap your mat a few times so that your knees have a little bit more support. Do some free movements. And please be free. Try to find a place or a space here that you have not been before. And get into each and every muscle that might be sore or tight from sitting too much or carrying too much. And we'll warm up a little bit before I have a Bible reading for you from the Old Testament, a story. Let your glutes sink back into a version of child's pose. Don't move your hands. We're going to go into all fours in just a second. On your next inhale, try to wave your spine up to a cat pose on all fours like this. Just tuck in your chin towards your chest. And then swing the other side. Or cow pose, really lifting up the tailbone, lengthen through the whole front here. And again, your cat pose, navel in towards your spine. Make yourself short from tailbone to the back of the head. And then move back into child's pose. And we do this with a slow pace of breath. So inhale, come into your cat pose. Exhale, cow. Inhale, cat pose. And exhale, down. Beautiful. Doing this a few more times, and I invite you to close your eyes and just move. Notice how your body feels when you move. Swaying, lifting up your spine, and moving back. And I'll not be cueing you, so you don't have to worry about doing it right or wrong. Just do something of what you remember from my introduction of this small flow. And if you feel like being more creative, go ahead. Do some weird poses. Let's just keep a kind of flowing through this cat-cow. When you get into your child's pose next time, stay there. Let your hands move further to the front end of your mat. Maybe find a little bit of a stretch underneath your armpit. Moving into downward facing dog. So I'll invite you to spread out your fingers, lift up your tailbone, and walk your dog one leg at a time, bend one knee. So you're making a triangle with your body, your hips lifted. Noticing your elbows a little bit bent. And we'll still warm up a little bit before we slow down the pace. Walk your feet to the front end of your mat. Get some distance in between your feet, and you might want to bend your knees. Let your head hang forward fold. And then bend heavily in your left knee. The other one can stay a little bit more straight. Your left knee is bended, your right arm lift up towards the sky, and maybe look towards it. And release it. Maybe you bend evenly in both legs. Move to the other side, bending a lot in your right knee, lifting up left arm towards the sky. So you have your shoulders stacked above each other. And lower down. Forward fold. And maybe you can do this aligned with your breath. So inhale, right arm up. And exhale, forward fold. Let your head hang. Inhale, left. Lift your chest a little bit away from your thighs. And forward fold. And keep moving. Soft. Deep breaths, belly breaths. Really engaging your core, your legs, your abs actually. One more time on each side. Noticing maybe where your mind is right now. And from your forward folds, bend your knees even more, arch your back, and come into a mountain pose, standing on the top end of your mat. Stand tall, take your shoulders up, back and down, and roll your shoulders just a few more times up and back. Maybe feeling your shoulders are jumping a little bit as you move them around. So now I'll read you a little story about Moses from Exodus 17. Maybe it's not a story you've heard that much, but if you stand in your mountain pose just in front end of your mat with your hands a little bit out to the side. Close your eyes, and if you feel like moving, swaying a little bit, please feel welcome. So the Israelites and Moses and Joshua in this case is out in the desert, and they've been for a while, and there's some enemies attacking them, the Amalekites. So listen up. Joshua did what Moses ordered in order to fight the Amalekites. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. It turned out that whenever Moses raised his hands, Israel were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, Amalekites were winning. But Moses' hands got tired. So they got a stone and set it under him. He sat on it, and Aaron and Hur held up his hand, one on each side. So his hands remained steady until the sun went down. Joshua defeated the Amalekites and its army in the battle. So with your eyes closed, maybe visualizing this story, Joshua and his battle, his army on the battlefield, and Moses up on a hill or a cliff with his arms out to the side. And maybe you take your arms out to the side just to feel what Moses was doing. And he didn't just do this posture, he was praying, because this is a prayer posture. So he was praying that Israelites were winning. And they did. And there's no magical thing about Moses' arms. I mean, they got tired, right? You probably feel tired if you've lifted your arms. But I think this story is telling us something about how to rely on God's power. And how to rely on each other, that we need each other. God, or Moses in this case, needed Aaron and Hur to hold up his hands to help him pray. So maybe you take your hands here, palms together in front of you. Maybe you bow your head, maybe not. And ask yourself, what does this story tell you about God's power and your power? Let your hands sink down by your side and lower down your knees, chair pose. So in my mind, this reminds me that God is powerful. That my life, my battles in life does not depend on how well I fight in the battlefield. It depends all on God's power. Oh, you may want to sink a little bit lower, keep a straight spine, and have some space in between your shoulder blades. And then let's do as Moses did, standing up, throwing our arms out to the side, and maybe bending a little bit back, opening up your chest, and pray for the battles that's in your life. Surrender your battles. Nothing is too big or too small. If it feels like a battle for you, that's what it is. Straighten out your spine again. Lift your hands above your head, palms together. Maybe you interlace your fingers and let your pointy fingers really stretch up. Stand as tall as you can. Engage your core so that your navel is in. And then hinge forward from your hip. Maybe a little bit bent in your knees. And stay a little bit forward folded. Maybe you'll get a little bit warm in your whole body. Remember to breathe. And if you really feel like working out today, you might go a little bit lower, but really engaging your core if you do this. On your next exhale, forward fold, let go of any kind of tension. Take your right leg and move it to the back end of your mat. Crescent lunge. We look forward, making sure front knee and ankle above each other. And if you feel like you have your balance, let your hands lift above your head. Sink your shoulders down. Keep the back leg a little bit straight, if you can. Take your right hand and take the outer edge of the hand to your left outer thigh. Ever so gently lean forward in a small twist, opening up. Your left hand moves back. Try to move that shoulder blade back to open up your chest. And keep breathing. I know you probably are a little bit tired. If you want to sink a little bit lower in your twist, welcome to do that. Beautiful. Look down, framing the foot. Take your back knee here, your right knee on the mat. I always fold my mat whenever I do this. And find your low lunge. Again, arms up. Move your hip forward. So you might feel something here in your hip flexors, a bit of a stretch. Maybe you take your hands together and go for a small back bend, opening up your chest. And maybe you want to take your hands behind your head. Fingers point down, supporting your head a little bit. Deep breaths. Moving your hip forward, feeling like you move your inner thighs a little bit together without actually moving feet or knees. Beautiful. Releasing your hands, fingers again framing the foot. Let's step it to the front end of our mat again. Release any tension you might feel. And let your left foot move back. Shorten the distance in between your feet if this is becoming too hard. Look forward, hip width distance between your heel and your back foot. Helps you stand. And sink a little bit low. Shake out any tension in your shoulders. And right now you might be alone at home, but maybe think of one or two people that might be able to pray with you or support you in the battles that you're going through. Are you asking them for help? Or do you feel like you have to do your own dirty laundry, that you have to fight your battles by yourselves? There's no shame at all. There's actually power in asking for help. And twisting, left hand outer edge of your thigh, going for a small twist at the beginning. Looking down, maybe, because this is a balance pose. And sinking lower if you want to. One last breath. Awesome. Framing the foot, getting ready to lower down left knee. Either toenails on the ground or tuck your toes under, you decide. Lifting up, take your hands above your head, again, palms together. Hinge forward, hips move forward, and make sure that heel here and knee is somewhat in a distance if you want to go for a hip flexor stretch. Toes, knees pointing in the same direction, both the front foot and the back leg. Moving into your back bend if you feel good in your lower back. Your hands behind your head, supporting your head with your lower arm.
Breathing steady and deep. Breathing in, you're not fighting alone. Beside God's on your side. You have friends and the church maybe on your side. If you don't have a church, I'll encourage you to look one up and see if you can find someone or a church that makes sense to you. Moving back, this time into downward facing dog. Letting go of your low lunge there. Stand still in down dog, spread out your fingers. Lowering down your heels as much as you can, maybe bend your knees. Breathe. Now take your right leg and lift it up just for a short while. We're gonna move it to the front end of our mat. So step it through. Warrior 2, turning the back foot around, aligned with the short end of your mat, and lift up. In Warrior 2, and maybe Warrior is a little bit short and not that low. That's beautiful. Or maybe you want to go wider, hands out, and let's do as Moses did. Put our palms up. Actually, I don't know if he did that, but I think he did. In my mind, he did. Palms facing up. And picturing having support underneath, maybe your short shoulders by now. And even having support as we move into half moon. This is a balance pose, so I'll guide you through it very slowly, but if you know it, just go ahead. I'd invite you to take that back foot a little bit closer and maybe even take your hands down on the floor. Lift your back leg up, your left leg. Flex your foot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, take a look at what I'm doing. Lifting up my chest here. And maybe looking down, I feel I have the balance. Maybe I don't. If we don't, keep your fingers on the ground. But if you have balance, straighten out both legs, lift all of left side, stacking shoulders and stacking hips. Most important, breathe. As always, knees, toes in the same direction. One last breath. I know this might be a little bit hard for somebody. And slowly relax, turning back into downward facing dog. And exhale out. You can always find child's pose if this is too hard, you need a rest. I'm gonna stay here for a few breaths in down dog or child's pose. Find your way back into downward facing dog if you were in child's pose. Doing these two poses on the other side. Left leg, elevate the foot, gently bend your knee, taking your time. And of course, you can always lift up your fingers here, lift up your left shoulder to make space to put that foot in between your hands. Pivot the back foot, heels somewhat aligned, and lift up. In your Warrior 2, sinking low, opening up your hip, engage your quads, stretching your inner thighs, never hyperextending the back leg if this is a thing for you. Again, let's let the palms face up. Relax your fingers. And remind yourself that God won the battle. Not due to magical arm strength, but because this is what God wanted. He wanted to show the Israelites, maybe want to show us, that our success, our happiness does not depend on our will or our skills in the battlefield. Both hands down, half moon. So again, just find your way into it if you know what you're doing. If not, slowly walk your hands to the front. This time, left leg lifts up. And lift up that leg as high as you can, not twisting or putting the foot behind your leg, the standing leg. Look forward, lengthening through your spine. And maybe lift up left hand. If you love this and have a good balance, you can always challenge yourself by looking up or letting go of the floor with your fingers. But no matter what, breathe. Last big breath. And then come to the front end of your mat, slowly taking your time, no rush. Forward fold. And this time we're gonna step on our hands. So let the palms face up. And if you have any wrist issues, of course you don't do this. Just take a hold of your calves or whatever here. Put your feet on your hands and really step. Maybe massaging your palm a little bit with your toes. Forward fold with however straight or bent knees that you like. And try really to put a little bit of weight in the front of your foot so you don't completely stand on your heel. And let go. Vertebrae by vertebrae, moving into your mountain pose. And once again, we'll move our hands out to the side, opening up our chest. Now, if you take a look at yourself, what kind of shape are your body in right now? A cross. And Moses' arms, at least for me, remind me of Jesus Christ. He also lifted up his hands out to the side. His hands went nails through his hands as he offered his life on the cross. He did not only win the battle in our lives right now, but he won the ultimate fight, the fight over death and sickness. He opened the door to samadhi, to peace, eternal peace, and the afterlife, what the Bible calls heaven. With your body, you might want to take the next gesture as a way of opening up your heart towards that and giving thanks towards that. So you can take your palms together, just take a hold of your arm. Lean a little bit back, moving your shoulder blades together and lifting up your head, going for a small back bend, opening up your chest. Thank you, Jesus, that you opened up your body. People did not help you on the cross. Your arms were nailed to the cross as you died for our sins to show us the path to real salvation and real peace and real healing. Let go and fold forward. Taking your time. And then move yourself into child's pose. Again, some distance in between your knees. Forehead on the ground. And as we started, maybe you want to turn your palms up yet again.
And picture yourself, maybe, at the feet of the cross. Maybe picturing yourself staying at the cross, and Jesus' eyes full of love, looking at you and saying, I love you, my child. I want to set you free. That's why I went on the cross for you, to clean you, to balance your energies. Now go and be free. You're welcome to stay down in child's pose way longer if that's what you need. Well, we can open up our chest and go into a back bend in camel pose as well. So I fold my mat yet again. Tuck my toes under. Make sure my knees and hips are above each other and they stay that way also as I lean back. Beginning with hands behind my lower back, supporting my back. Slowly stretching my shoulders back. And if this feels okay, you might want to go for the camel pose, leaning further back, seeing if you can find the heels with one hand or maybe the other. Move your hip forward. Maybe let your head hang. Opening up your chest. Your whole body being vulnerable. As Jesus was vulnerable. And when you come up, engage your root lock, engage your lower back, your abs. Stand on all fours. Toenails on the ground, and then lift your spine up. And let go. Come down on your back, on your mat. Reversed pigeon pose. Right leg moves up. Take your knee out to the side and right leg on the left knee there. Take your right hand in between that little 3-ankled window you get and move or pull your left leg closer to your chest. This is a stretch that you'll probably feel in your glutes. Welcome to close your eyes. And if this story about Moses and about Jesus spoke to you, remember that prayer is not difficult. It's just a conversation with someone that you can't see. Well, that's a little bit weird, but still, it's just a conversation like you have a conversation with your friend. So maybe just tell Jesus whatever you feel like, whatever beliefs or disbeliefs you have right now, whatever you feel or don't feel. Switching legs. In my life, sometimes some of my most spiritual experiences sometimes have happened after I had someone pray for me or been in a situation where I could have felt emotional and I didn't. But then when I got home and things just settled a little bit, then it kind of dawned on me what God was saying or what happened. So sometimes I feel the effects of God's healing or God's movements in my body or in my soul and mind after. So just be aware, be open. Let go of your feet. Take your hands above your head and just moving into a banana pose, I call it. Move both your feet to your left and then both hands to your left. So you will probably be in kind of a banana shape here with your body. And if you move to your left, you might want to take a hold of your right wrist and pull your arm a little bit. You'll feel this probably in your shoulder. And you can even take your right leg and stack it on top of the other, making sure you don't come up on your hip here, but that both your glutes, sitting bones, are on the mat. Breathe deeply. And let go. Of course, the other side as well. So move your legs to right side, arms to the right side. Take a hold of maybe your left wrist and pull it a little bit. It might not be one of the deepest, most painful stretches, but that's why I'm choosing it right now. Gentle, relaxing stretch, maybe. We have resting pose left. So move back and maybe before resting on the mat, hug your knees. Do something that feels good. And because I don't want to make this video too long, I will shorten the resting pose, but I will really invite you to stay longer on your mat because it's just so nice and maybe you feel calm. Maybe you want to return to that picture of Moses or Jesus throwing their arms out, and maybe you want to lay like this right now with your hands a little bit out to the side and palms facing up. Shoulders down though. Closing your eyes, opening your jaws. In the Bible, there's a saying, not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. So if you want more of Jesus' healing, peace, truth, stay here and just say, yes, God, more of you. And God, Jesus will come. The Holy Spirit will speak to you. If not now, maybe later. So please stay on the mat. Maybe after turning this video off. But thank you so much. And please write to me if you want me to pray for you. I would love that. Especially if you're new in your faith and would like to know more about what I'm talking about. God's peace to you.